All right, friends, welcome back again to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment. We continue with our city and castle defense series here. Our channel is dedicated to Bannerlord, and we're going to help you get better at defending all the different city layouts in the game. Now, we're going to be covering Hubyar today. We're wrapping up our Aserai series, and like most of the cities, we will cover Tier 2 or Tier 3 scene levels, which refers to the walls. I'm not going to cover a whole lot of cities in Tier 1. Most cities will upgrade out of Tier 1 by the time you're having major sieges anyways, so we will focus on Tier 2 and Tier 3. Now this city here, this reminds me a little bit of Tyal. We're going to let the sergeant take control here the first couple minutes just to see if we can identify some strengths and weaknesses already. Of course, we like this central kill box. I also see that archers seem to be pretty safe there, so that'll be a rare instance where you see us putting a lot of archers on the walls. The AI, as typical, they're not real focused on destroying the siege towers. They're sort of randomly firing there. But look at these archers down here, right? In this kill box, this is a rare thing to be able to have archers on the walls and they're not being shot to pieces. We will be taking advantage of that. The idea, of course, is you have an outer wall, an inner wall, and you trap the enemy between those two places and shoot them full of arrows. Very primal stuff here. Now, there's lots of room, lots of courtyard space here for archers. I imagine this is very difficult if there's a hole in the wall. In fact, if this initial defense is too easy, we may try adding in a hole in the wall every once in a while. You're in a siege where the enemy blows a hole in the wall, and of course everything is much, much harder. Now, as usual, the AI hasn't read any Art of War here. No Sun Tzu for the AI. He who defends everything defends nothing. That refers to the act of trying to defend every single location is with as many forces as you can. You stretch yourself too thin somewhere, and then of course you get a breach. In this case, it's the left side. The enemy AI is now rolling through our walls here, decimating our troops. And that very strong defense force, in fact, it's getting pinched now by both sides, has no chance, right? This siege is already over. And I guess they're going to kill, a little bit over half of the enemy force. That's not terrible on a baseline. At this stage, I've done scores of these simulations and castle defenses, and I would say it's unusual, actually, for the AI to kill more than 500 troops. So it could be worse, right? They actually did a decent job. Now, we're going to try to line some archers up around that central kill box, mostly because they can't be shot. Now, the line of sight is critical. You got to get down there. You got to kind of pretend you're an archer for 30 seconds and say, okay, can I be shot right here? Can I be shot right there? And then we need to protect them, right? As the enemy comes up these walls, whether they get up there with the siege tower or that we can destroy one, you have to anticipate the enemy getting to your walls and then getting to your archers. It doesn't do you a damn bit of good if your archers have great line of sight on the walls, only to get stabbed to death by hordes of enemy infantry. So let's go ahead and make the 7th and 8th tier a couple smaller divisions. The reason they're going to be small is because we certainly don't have room for like 150 archers around this kill box. We are going to deploy a dual strategy here of archers down in the courtyard, away from the central kill box, and then obviously archers over the central kill box. Now we're going to try to destroy this siege tower on the left. I always prioritize doing that, and I usually pick one of the two, and then my strategy sort of focuses around that. Now this is interesting also. That little hole there where we're going to put the 1st infantry, that's not going to allow us to provide much counterfire. That means we're going to have to do all of the killing of the enemy that comes through the gate in that kill box. Let's see here. We got a fire catapult. What's nice about the fire catapult, of course, is I think we'll be able to throw those fire catapults on troops coming into that kill box. So this side, we're going to have to anticipate the enemy siege tower arriving and then dealing with their infantry as they come up. I don't think they're going to come up onto these ramparts over here and attack us. Although we shall see, right? You just never know what the AI is going to do. I could put infantry kind of right here in between them. Or even like an infantry block right here. This 3rd Corps is usually an attack dog division full of shock troops. I like to be able to use those guys depending on where the need is in the city. You get shock troops in that division. You notice the 1st and the 4th have assigned to spears and spears and shields. So I don't know if the enemy's going to come up these ramparts here. I do know that we can stick a bunch of archers and infantry right here, and there's a pretty good chance that they will aggro or attack the archers that are there. So you know, a division or two of archers here. These guys have great line of sight on that wall, on that siege tower as they come up. Anybody who's been on the receiving end of that, it's a very unpleasant experience. Every single guy gets 6 arrows in him. It looks like the medieval version of Saving Private Ryan on the beach scene. Now you notice this angles here, right? Normally our square, we put crossfire to the sides of it. With the way it's tucked in there like that, that's not really an option, right? We have no line of sight to help the archers. That means that we're going to have to get a little creative with how we kill the units in that kill box. It may be that when the enemy brings his archers up, we can get archers around that kill box. However, their enemy archers are going to shoot at us too, right? So that's going to be interesting. It's going to be a curious challenge trying to get the angles on the enemy and trying to get the initiative. Now, the second corps is that shield bowman. Those are the Mamluk horse archers. I've been using them like that most of this series. That way I can steal from that division and use it as a square. I think these archers here cannot be shot, right? So we can have a line of archers right there. In this case, we basically are going to put up 3 different lines of archers around this kill box, 6th, 7th, and 8th. Yeah, 6th, 7th, and 8th. And we'll spread these guys out. That way they can see around each one of these crenulations. And I don't know. I don't think they can be shot outside from there, but sometimes you really got to babysit. After the siege starts, you got to observe. Are guys grunting? Are they groaning and moaning and getting shot from outside? If they are, especially if it's a bunch of them, you probably want to move them. I think this is going to work, though. We should be able to disable that siege tower, and once we do that, and shit here, I got a bunch of these big oafs in my way. Out of my way, fellas. You bunch of ogres, you're in my way. All right, just hang out right here, fellas. I didn't actually mean to charge. So I like, again, having that third corps. I don't have a job for them yet, but they will be used at some point in this battle, right? What the fuck? I ran right up and got shot in the face. Sniper. So every catapult's a little different too, right? This one doesn't seem too bad, but obviously that first shot took half my health. So you got to be wary. Of course, your character should not take this kind of damage. The NPC characters they've assigned to the custom battle menu are really weak. But you can see it's kind of alarmingly weak here. This catapult is pretty exposed. These guys somehow got torqued out. Every once in a while, your archers will do haywire shit. That's one of the most asked questions. My archers are doing their own shit. Well, if you're a mercenary, you're not in charge. They'll do whatever they want because the AI is actually in charge of them. But if you're in charge of those archers, damn, there's the tiniest little sliver on there. It's tempting to just let it come on up and then bombard it. But we can just destroy it. That's all right. So if you're not in charge, right, obviously you can't move your archers. If you are in charge and your archers are still running up to the walls, put them in line formation first. That's F2, F1. And if they still don't, then I don't know what to do for you, right? You can try doing things like retreat and pull back, F1, F5, F1, F7. But if they're not obeying any of those, friends, I would assume you have a mod, some kind of bug or something else. All right. We're just going to lob a few fireballs out here. We've got a little bit of time here before the enemy gets up to the ramp. And so we're going to take advantage of that. Now, I'm sort of stalling because I want several fireballs to be able to throw on these guys and bombard them once they get close enough. This infantry, right, that's our primary concern. Those guys are going to be in the courtyard attacking the front gate. Now, I have this 3rd Division and 2nd Division free, right? These guys are no longer needed over here, so it's a question of what I do with them. Now, I could put the 2nd Division right through here, right? This Archer Division, and just line it up through there, but I don't think we want to do that until the enemy brings their archers up. At some point or other, the enemy AI will bring their archers up, and when they do, we might be able to trap them and massacre them in this kill box. This 3rd Division, I'm just kind of waiting for a need. And speaking of a need, I feel a need here. Of course, this is just an automatic thing. Unfortunately, the AI stacks its troops up as tightly as possible, and even when the previous ones were killed standing in the same spot, the other guys will just filter their way right back to the spot. It would be nice if Tail Worlds was able to program it so once they took a couple of those, they started to spread out and scattered all over the place. Troops and people in real life would never just stand there and be immolated not just stand there, but eagerly come up. Now, speaking of eagerly coming up, you notice what's going on here. All of their archers just charged, right? Their archers are coming into this kill box. So that's good and bad, right? Because that also means their archers are going to be shooting at us. The good part of this, though, is that I think we can get the 2nd Division involved here, and we can obviously throw some fireballs down and onto their archers as well. This second corps is going to get shot, but with, what do we have, 80 to 100 archers up here? See, these guys have no cover on this backside, so we are going to start taking losses here. But I think we have enough archers shooting down there that it's going to have a net positive result. Yeah, they've started to shoot, and here comes, they're throwing those little fucking, the Khazate equivalent of a javelin. It's a throwing spear with a feathery end on it. We've got our 2nd corps coming in here, though. That should help buttress all these archers. It's a shootout, though. It reminds me of that scene. It's not a great movie anymore. It was one of those things that was like cool 30 years ago. But The Rock, Sean Connery, where the Marines are down, or I think the Marines actually trap the special forces down in the sewer area. We've got them in a bad spot here. Although that said, right, I guess they've got me in a bad spot. Let's have everybody freeze, and hopefully we can recover here. This kind of thing happens when you narrate these live, right? Sometimes they get snafu'd. The Khazate, you know, they got a lot of archers in this scenario, all the cons guards and stuff like that. And it's not easy what we're doing here, right? This would be way easier if this was Sturgia and they had 10% archers. But half their force, or 2/3 of their force even, has a bow. So we are winning. The death spam says we're winning. And now I hear rocks. We've got NPCs over there chucking rocks down on them, which is a beautiful combination. I won't be surprised if they start routing soon. They're jammed up. They're in a kill box. They're having rocks thrown at them. I can actually see the guys. You can see the guys over there throwing rocks on them. And indeed, the Khazate are starting to take off here. Now, I don't think that means the siege is over, right? Because the other side, they're still free to roam. But that worked. It was a little messier than I anticipated. This is working too. All right, let's get this support unit over here. This 2nd Corps, 42 guys. We can bring these guys over here, and they might have just routed. They did. They just routed out of both spots. So, not too hard, right? This is a pretty darn good city for defense. That center kill box, that is, it's not perfect. I would have said that would have worked way, way better if we were facing a lot of infantry, right? Against Khazate in this situation, like I said, about 70% of their army has archers. That makes it much, much harder. All right, so let's try a more difficult scenario here. Let's do single breached walls. In other words, there's a hole in the wall. And we'll see if we can't defend this under much harder circumstances. When these episodes are 8, 10, 12 minutes long, every once in a while we're going to do this little extra credit portion of it. This is not super unusual in a campaign to have the NPC or the enemy AI blast a wall down, right? You're in a city, it's trying to get in. Maybe you don't have great siege skill. Maybe it's early in a campaign. How do you defend a city when there's 2 holes like this, right? We're going to have 2 holes. There's the hole at the gate, of course, and we've got this as well. Well, the main thing to do is to focus on one or the other, right? We're going to listen to Sun Tzu. We're not going to try to defend every single spot as well as possible. The main gate, if we just have infantry there for a long time, we'll be able to bottle those troops up. I think this is the threat. In my experience, a hole in the wall is actually a bigger threat than the main gate. Generally, you can just bottle up the gate. But I hate my line of sight here. If I'm looking at their huge rectangle of archers out there, we've got a problem, right? They're going to be shooting through that cracks of that hole. And all of this presupposes that we can destroy the siege tower. Now, we were able to destroy it last time pretty easily, but we're going to have to try to focus on that siege tower again. Otherwise, if they have 3 ways in, I'm not sure we're going to be able to pull these off. If you're watching, of course, at least something interesting happened. Either that or we had success. So, I understand that is a bit of a spoiler. For this instructional series, unlike our campaigns and our epic siege series, we're not going to show failures. In fact, we'll just go ahead and do this part. this is my 4th attempt at doing this. We've done a little editing. If you're seeing this directly after the successful siege, that is because I have done some editing. I've been trying this for about an hour now. A little bit of fair disclaimer there. In a world where there's fucking fraud and trickery and all kinds of shit like that, we will try to be on the forefront of telling you guys shit like that when it feels necessary. Of course, it doesn't really matter that much. You guys, it's not like anybody's out there like, hey, you failed 3 times, you suck. And we may fail 4 times. I can just basically tell you the most difficult thing we've had with this keep has been that hole in the wall, right? They have been bursting through, and it's been difficult to jam them up, and more importantly, it's been difficult to get archer support for that hole in the wall. We'll see if we can't do that. I will share some of the things I have learned to this stage. Of course, once you fail 3 times, I mean, most people, you know, you're getting better at your craft and you're learning from your mistakes, right? Each time, of course, we're getting a little bit more accurate with each of these steps. We're immolating these troops here as they try to reinforce troops. It's a combo shot, just thwack right in the middle of them. In fact, we might be able to get some of these guys here on the ram as well. One of the times we failed, I got shot to death just at this catapult. That's just a thing. You're probably not gonna see episodes where something random like that happens. But your character in a campaign should be able to survive more than a couple arrows. These NPCs for the custom battle menu are super delicate. All right, now one of the times we failed because I didn't put the square at the gate, right? So sometimes you do knucklehead shit. I had all my troops in beautiful position. The enemy got up to the main gate, and the next thing I know, they were rampaging on the courtyard, and like, where the fuck? How'd you get through the guys at the main gate? And then I realized that the guys at the main gate were just standing spread out, you know, over to the left of the enemy. Sometimes you just flat out forget shit, right? I'm telling you guys that, but obviously I'm not going to show you those kind of debacles. These things happen. Now, siege tower's destroyed. These guys are going to get killed if they go up there. You see all those archers down there? This has been the debacle or the dilemma each time. The Khazate here have so many different ranged units, just like the successful attempt. It's been a lot harder trying to figure out when and where to pull these guys out with the wall down, right? Because they have so many archers. We obviously can't afford to lose tons of troops. Now I'm flying over here to show you this. The enemy does not attack the square as readily when there's a hole. This is part of the reason a hole is much more difficult than a gate. You could put that square at the main gate and the enemy won't fuck with you too much. But you know, if you put a square at a hole, the enemy tends to go right past your square and just attack archers and rampage, kind of like they're supposed to, right? It's sort of an exploit that you can put a square near the gate and the enemy swarms it while you shoot them to death for 10 minutes. But in the case of a hole, they try to get through, right? So what I've done over here is charged with 2 different divisions, 2 different infantry divisions. We've got archers that have good line of sight. So those guys, of course, are shooting over the head of our attacking infantry. These guys up here have a beautiful position. This is that second corps, of course, just like the first example. Well, first, third, second, third, fourth example. We have been using these guys wherever we had kind of the opportunity. Here, again, we're taking a lot of fire from inside the courtyard. It's almost an even trade of death spam. And an even trade is not going to work for us, right? We have to get a 4-to-1 kill ratio here to win. A 1-to-1 obviously won't work. Now, I didn't really have a lot of success doing this either. This time, though, the enemy is stacked up here, so we're going to chuck some rocks down. Now, I will say on one of these examples, we got kind of fucked over by the AI. 2 of my archer divisions that were around this central kill box just did whatever they wanted to. I experienced the same thing you guys do, where sometimes your archers they're like, wow, I'm not going to be positioned right there. I'm going to go wherever I wanted. They ran off. That caused me, precious time because I had to go grab them. and then manually put them back where I wanted them to go, that 30, 35, 40 seconds caused us to fail to get the ram. And once we failed to get failed to get the siege tower. And once we failed to get the siege tower, this siege was all over. This time, it looks like we finally have it. It's still close. The enemy's in there getting shot pretty bad in the kill box. The gate is blocked up. They're routing hard off the main gate. They're still fighting like wolves over here. And they're just sort of attacking the edges of our infantry. Gonna make them come through the door. We've got some archers with pretty good line of sight. These guys on the upper rampart, looks like they have them bottled up pretty well. And I'm going to stab a few of these guys. I'm a little irritated that it took 4 tries. But it is what it is, right? Like we want some challenges also, but oh shit, that's a lot of cons guards. Okay, we can't attack that. You know, we want to be I want to be able to help you fellas when you're experiencing difficulty with Bannerlord. And I mean, you know, if I'm having a difficult time with it, it's probably a pretty difficult challenge because of our experience here. Nevertheless, it does look like we have the successful recipe. You see they're coming, as soon as they poke their head around that corner, there's about 60 archers drawing a bead on them. And cons guards or not, you're still going to get shot to death. I can kind of distract them with the square here, but this should be over. In fact, they just tuck-tailed to run. And success, right? And it's a little bit more satisfying when it takes 4 attempts. Part of me's annoyed at some of the little bugs that happen there, but nevertheless, we'll do a little fancy editing, and you guys will just see that first battle and this battle. So there you have it. There's Hubyar. Hopefully that gives you plenty of pointers, plenty of little tips on how to defend this interesting city. It's a huge, big, beautiful city. This is actually the origin of Wazoo. The Aserai campaign. This is where he started from. So there you have it, that little extra worthless tidbit for you. All right, you want to see more from this series? Of course, it helps to subscribe, hit notifications. Let me know what you think of this series in the comments. If you have any requests, put them down there. And with all that said, I will see you friends next time.